We're here at EGX this week, guys, and we didn't want to not deliver on content for you, so we're doing the Sunday show, Sunday news roundup a little bit differently. We're just going to do it here.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's okay. I hope
no green screen.
No green screen. Maybe you prefer this. Maybe this is better.
There is technically games in the background. They just got to go right the way, all the way back through there. But that's all the best we can do today, unfortunately. So. Anyway, news.
Battlegrounds is one of gaming's biggest success stories, with over 10 million copies sold and a peak of 1.5 million concurrent players. So it wasn't all that surprising when other developers started to borrow their secret Battle Royale sauce. Epic Games have really gone to town on the borrowing ideas front with Battle Royale, a standalone game mode for their third-person crafting survival game, Fortnite. It went down pretty well with gamers who'd bought into Fortnite, and this week they announced the mode will be made free to absolutely everyone. No need to buy into the base game, which is going to be free itself eventually. It's a big ballsy move from Epic Games, who have been pretty open about their inspiration for the game, which really is pretty close to the real thing. I mean, it's something so noteworthy, it's so similar. We made like a whole video on it pretty much, didn't we? Like, it looks exactly the same, it handles very similarly, there's a lot of the same mechanics, like you fly in, okay, you're in a bus, and you don't actually parachute, you paraglide, but I mean, it's pretty similar, right?
So similar.
Yeah.
But we weren't the only ones to think the games looked identical. Bluehole, the developer of PUBG, has actually called out the concerning similarities between the games in a weird kind of press release / legal notice. Chang Ham Kim, CEO of Bluehole, sent out the release earlier this week criticising Epic Games and their Battle Royale mod. Kim said, "We've had an ongoing relationship with Epic Games throughout PUBG's development, as they are the creators of UE4, the engine we licensed for the game. After listening to the growing feedback from our community and reviewing the gameplay for ourselves, we are concerned that Fortnite may be replicating the experience for which PUBG is known." Kim rightly pointed out PUBG is referenced in Fortnite's announcement, and they say this was never discussed with the Bluehole team. "We don't feel that it's right. The PUBG community has and continues to provide evidence of the many similarities as we contemplate further action."
So in a later interview with PC Gamer, Kim added that he doesn't object to the idea itself, it's about Epic Games, and that Epic Games used PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds without their knowledge. Kim does acknowledge that the idea of Battle Royale is fairly simple and that it had been done numerous times before Battlegrounds even hit the market. But he thinks that Epic Games should give him some sort of compensation for the Battle Royale idea, and Kim suggested that if the other developers would like to make a Battle Royale game, then maybe they should license the idea from Bluehole and Brendan Green. So it boils down to money, as it always does. He just wants a bit of money. He wants a bit of the action, doesn't he? He's like, he's seeing a game that might be really popular and is probably thinking, oh no, this might dent the success of Battlegrounds, which I don't think it will, but that's obviously something that's on his mind. It all boils down to money. Was this the right idea though? Like, announcing that you think a game is very similar to yours, that's like a good PR for the other game, like,
yeah.
You're that worried about it.
It's not the best way to do it, is it? Announce that you might be taking legal action like this. It's very peculiar, to say the least. It would be obvious to criticise the fact that PUBG itself is a rip-off of many other genres, game types and things like that. So what right did they have to go telling other people not to rip them off? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the problem. As soon as you start getting into that sort of stuff, I mean, you're just asking for trouble, in my opinion. And the biggest problem is that they've just announced it and they've done this as a press release rather than like just get your lawyers to talk to their lawyers. Surely don't be like telling the world that we're going to get our lawyers to talk to their lawyers, because it's just good advertisement for the other game. That's what I can't get my head around.
Especially since they're working together too. You'd have thought they'd have a better working relationship.
Exactly. So there you go. As of the recording, we haven't had anything off Brendan Green himself, which is interesting. He's not really said anything at the time of recording, so it'll be interesting to see what his take is on it. Eventually, I guess he's going to say something. So there you go. Fortnite is very similar to Battlegrounds now, and Battlegrounds is very, very aware of that.
Elsewhere in the news, Rainbow Six Siege is a very popular multiplayer shooter right now, but just the other day, PS4 players got a nasty shock when they tried to play a match with their friends. Ubisoft put out a new patch for the PS4 version of Siege, which was meant to fix some bugs and prep the game for the latest season. But when players updated the game and tried to invite their friends to a match, the PS4s started crashing, and when they tried to restart their consoles, they just wouldn't boot. As it turns out, the update was somehow conflicting with the PS4 firmware, which was causing the crashes, and the players could restore their consoles if they reinstalled the firmware from safe mode. But if they tried to open their friends list again, it would brick their PS4 again, and they'd have to go back into safe mode to restore their console. It didn't take Ubisoft long to issue a fix for the bug, and they advised players to reset their consoles, and to compensate for players' troubles, they're putting on a bonus event which grants more XP. How this bug slipped slip past both Ubisoft and Sony remains a mystery, but maybe they should have done a bit more Q&A on this one.
Yeah, I mean, QA is really important. How could they let this happen? I mean, Sony's quite bad. I mean, both of them, Microsoft and Sony, are very, kind of strict when it comes to updates and stuff like that. So, especially Sony. So it's quite a surprise that this has actually happened at all in the first place. This is unbelievable. I just can't imagine what would have been going through people's minds when they just tried to fire a game up and then suddenly it's just ruining everything for them. What a horrible experience. And, is a bonus XP really a good enough fix? I don't know.
A lot of people messaged us to cover this one, obviously it's rung kind of loudly in the community, but thankfully they fixed it. And all is well, it seems.
Also in the news, like most sports, basketball games arrive every year like clockwork. NBA 2K18 is the latest, launching earlier this week on PC, PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and some other platforms. The reviews have been pretty good on the whole, but there's one big complaint that's resonating around the community. The game has some truly horrific microtransactions in it. The Sixth Axis said as much in their review for the game, and were in fact so frustrated by the microtransactions, they actually gave the game a 3 out of 10. This is essentially the practices of a free-to-play game in a full-priced sports title, the review read. Playing to level up your character will also absolutely give you an advantage online in the neighbourhood section.
But here's where the story really starts. The Sixth Axis actually removed the 3 out of 10 score from their review after discussion with the game's publisher, 2K. In an update, the site said, in discussion with 2K Games, we've temporarily removed the score pending a statement with regard to our criticisms, at which point it will be reinstated. Additionally, a draft conclusion was posted that incorrectly characterized our score as a protest vote and has been reworded to reflect that our criticisms are rooted in the effect that VC, literally virtual currency, and microtransactions have on the gameplay. This triggered a bit of controversy, with commenters saying it looked like 2K had pressured the site into giving a better score. But the score was reinstated a day later when the Sixth Axis posted a lengthy update admitting they had made a mistake in removing the score, but insisted they were not pressured to change it by 2K.
So this is something that was summed up pretty well by, I think it was Tall Biscuit on Twitter, who said this is something that makes neither party look good. Like, no matter what the truth of the situation is, this is a bad look for both of them. Like, the Sixth Axis for actually changing the score in the first place, and having to adjust the review and all that sort of stuff, and then for 2K obviously for looking like they're pressuring someone to change a score for them. I mean, the fact of it being a protest, I think, was the main complaint, and that's what the site was saying, that's what the Sixth Axis was saying. The 2K weren't happy that it was like a protest score, which, I don't know, I mean, if you put microtransactions in the game and that kind of ruins the game, then maybe that should be reflected in the score. I don't know. It's a really unusual, peculiar situation, not one that I've really encountered before, to be honest. And also in the news, back in 2013, the European Commission ordered a study worth €360,000 into the effects of piracy on sales of everything from video games to movies and music. But we never saw the results of that study, except for one carefully selected section, which we'll get to in a minute. It's only seen the light of day now after EU parliamentarian Julia Reader submitted an FOI request earlier this year, forcing the EU Commission to finally produce the goods. And once Reader got her hands on the study, what did it show? Well, with the exception of recently released blockbusters, there is no evidence to support the idea that online copyright infringement displaces sales, Reader wrote on her blog. Why did it take till now to get the results? I mean, did they just lose the study in the middle of all that EU bureaucracy? Well, no. 2 EU commissioners used results from the study in 2016 to back up claims that piracy impacts cinema ticket sales. But as Reader notes, the EU has been trying to get ISPs to spy on user-uploaded content in the EU. And according to Reader, this seems to substantiate suspicion that the European Commission was hiding the study on purpose and cherry-picked the results they wanted to publish by choosing only the results which supported their political agenda towards stricter copyright rules.
So this is a bit dodgy, isn't it? Like, if you conduct a study and the results aren't what you want, you just kind of slip it under the carpet so that nobody takes note of it. It was commissioned to supposed to show that piracy affected game sales negatively, but what this shows is that maybe it's the opposite is the case, which is a lot of the times is what you guys are saying in the comments to us.
Yeah, I mean, what makes it really dodgy to me is the fact that some other EU commissioners actually used the study, but only like certain parts of it, right, last year, and they were like, because that small part of that study actually supported their claim that it hurt ticket sales, for example, and then it wasn't until now when Reader actually filed an FOI request, which she shouldn't have to do. She should just be able to see that study whenever she wants. she filed that FOI request. Now she's got the whole picture, and it actually looks like that piracy might actually be beneficial and not bad, which is not what the study and the EU were hoping to find when they spent $250,000 on it.
It's just like free demos, isn't it? It's what everyone's screaming out for. Let's try the game before we buy. But you know, that's what a lot of people use it for, isn't it? So I don't know who'd have known. I mean, it's not condoning piracy, but maybe they should rethink the strategy towards releasing free content.
Trials and stuff like that, yeah.
Finally this week, brand partnerships aren't anything new to gaming. There's Destiny branded Pop-Tarts, Halo themed Mountain Dew, there's even gamer branded energy peanut snacks. What? Is that true?
Yeah.
Right, okay. But Sega and Sonic Team have made the brand deal to end all brand deals. Sonic has teamed up with Hooters restaurants to promote Sonic Forces in Japan. That's right, Sonic, the supposedly kid-friendly hedgehog, is partnering with a restaurant chain who are best known for their cheap beer and scantily clad waitresses. What drove Sega to make this partnership? Who knows? But it certainly isn't the weirdest thing Sonic has ever done. What do you mean, who knows? Who wrote that script? I know why.
That guy.
That guy over there.
Me.
Let's not blame him. Okay. So this is interesting, okay? So I haven't played a Sonic game for years. Why? Because I was a kid at the time. It appealed to me. It was awesome, yeah? But all of a sudden...
Are you going to say that, but now that there's boobs attached?
But now that I'm an adult and there's boobs attached with the brand, maybe I'm interested again. Just saying. I mean, no.
The press badge, we're at EGX.
What?
There's boobs in the game.
I mean, is it just me?
So those are the stories that really caught our eye in the news. What caught your eye in the news this week? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this every single day. There should be another video on your screens right now that you can watch, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. See you next time.